Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about boosting your breast milk supply. Your supply being low is so stressful for us mamas. I recently went through this twice with my baby Everly. When she was around 3 months old, she got an ear infection and went on a nursing strike because I think the sucking was hurting her ear and she just wasn't nursing very well. And that tanked my supply. And then a month later, I got the stomach bug really bad and that tanked my supply. Both of these times, I was so stressed out. I researched everything I could about increasing your milk supply. My goal was to get the baby back on the breast when I was with her so I could nurse her when I was with her. And then I wanted to be able to pump the same amount as I was pumping before, and I actually did that. We now nurse when we're together and she's satisfied, and I'm pumping the same amount, if not more, when I am away from her. So if you are in a similar situation, I hope this video is helpful. First of all, learn from my mistakes. If your baby is sick and is not nursing well and is on a nursing strike, you may have to pump. I wasn't pumping those few days my baby wasn't nursing well and was on her nursing strike and was recovering from her ear infection, and that totally tanked my supply. When she was doing better a couple days later, she was so unsatisfied after she would nurse, and when I would go to pump, I wasn't pumping near as much as I would before, like a fraction or half. Breastfeeding is supply and demand, and because I wasn't telling my body to make milk, it wasn't making milk. So if your baby is on a nursing strike, after you at least try to nurse them, it's important to keep trying, but you may have to pump. And you may have to pump several times a day after a nursing session that just didn't go well. If your baby normally nurses 10 minutes and they're only nursing 2 minutes, and you know something is just off, whether they're sick or whatever, you may just have to pump after those nursing sessions. You may also have to supplement. By day 3 of her nursing strike, she was just so fussy. And I mean, I was trying to nurse her like 10 times a day and she just would only nurse for like a little bit. I think it was because her ear was hurting her. I said, you know what, I think I need to give her a bottle of pumped breast milk, and I was so scared doing that like she would just get hooked on the bottle and I don't know, something bad would happen. It didn't. Like, it was fine. When I'm away from her, she takes bottles. A couple times while she was sick, while she had that ear infection and was having trouble sucking and it was hurting her, we had to do the bottle, but I did do this. Every time she had a bottle, I did pump. So make sure you're pumping if you're ever supplementing because your baby's sick or whatever is going on. If you're missing a feeding, make sure you're pumping. If your baby isn't nursing well, try pumping afterwards. That will definitely save you from your supply tanking. Now, if you are sick, I would have similar advice. So when I had the stomach flu, I was just so dehydrated. I would try to nurse the baby, but she would get so frustrated like 5 minutes in because I just didn't have milk. And I was also so sick and exhausted that I had my husband give her a bottle. And I mean, I would try to pump when she had the bottle, but I just was hardly getting anything because I was just so dehydrated. And then I did skip a couple pumps because I was just so tired. Or one time I went to urgent care and I skipped a pump and like 6 hours went by and I only pumped like a tiny amount because I was just so dehydrated. So in that situation, it is what it is. I probably should have tried to pump every time she was getting a bottle, but I was so dehydrated, my supply was just gonna tank no matter what. So let's get to the point. Your supply is tanked. What do you do? First, what are your goals? My goal was to get the baby back on the breast and then also be pumping the same amount when I was away from the baby. So because my goal is to get the baby back on the breast, I just had to jump back on the horse, I guess. I put her back on the breast as much as I possibly could. And babies are patient. Like, yes, they may get frustrated, but a lot of times babies also really like to nurse. So if I had to supplement, I would, and I would pump while we were doing the bottle. But then like an hour later, I would offer the breast again just to like have that stimulation, have her sucking again. Just have that bonding moment, have her remember how nice this was, and then the next feeding, I wouldn't rush to supplement. I would try to breastfeed first. If we got a good full feeding, then that was great. If that feeding went well and she seemed satisfied after, cool. And then she may have not gotten as much as she normally did, but then maybe I would just offer to nurse her sooner. So if I normally nursed her every 3 hours and she was like fussy after an hour and a half, I would go ahead and offer it. because I knew that like my supply wasn't where it should be. So maybe for a day or two, I was nursing every hour and a half, and like, hey, that works. That boosts your supply, and that more frequent feedings means your baby's getting more milk because you're having more letdowns, and so your body's creating more milk and it's telling your body to make more milk. You also may want to try pumping after feedings. I would do this right after feeding her, so I would try to nurse her. If she seemed satisfied, I would maybe pump for 10 minutes afterwards. That's just telling your body to be making more milk. It's all supply and demand. If you want to try to power pump, that's a great idea. So an example of a power pump would be like 20 minutes of pumping, 20 minutes off, 10 minutes of pumping, 10 minutes off, 10 minutes of pumping, 10 minutes off. And so you can do that for like a whole hour. Just keep in mind that that next feeding, you may have to do a bottle because you may be like flat out of milk. So hey, maybe pump again while the baby's getting that bottle. I wouldn't go too crazy with the power pumping, because if your goal is to just like get back to normal, you don't want to end up with like this crazy oversupply either, where you like have to pump all the time, if that makes sense. So maybe only try the power pumping thing like a day or two if, you know, things are going well. Next, make sure you're drinking a ton of water and eating really well. Your body needs a lot of energy to make milk. Try to get enough rest. And I mean, I know this is all hard when you're recovering from illness, but just do what you can. Just really pound that water. Water is so important, and especially if you're going to be pumping and just nursing extra, you really have to drink a ton of water. You can try some lactation products like lactation tea or lactation cookies. I really love Booby Latte. It's like a coffee lactation drink. Things that have oats, nutritional yeast, and flaxseed are all really helpful. In my experience, lactation drinks and food and products help you with like maybe one feed or one pump. So like if I have a lactation drink and then an hour later I might pump more because I had that lactation drink, it doesn't necessarily help me like throughout the day, but just maybe continuing to have those lactation products throughout that one day, and then maybe your body will get used to making more. All good things. I know also for a lot of mamas, there is that time like around the 6-week mark where your milk starts to regulate a little bit, and sometimes there's a dip in milk. And for you guys, I would just have the same advice. Just put the baby on the breast whenever you can. You can pump after a feeding here and there, but it's all supply and demand. But if you're worried, of course, reach out to your pediatrician, talk to a lactation consultant, talk to other mamas. Last, I just want to say, trust your gut when it comes to taking care of your baby. I know how stressful it can feel having to dig into the freezer stash to pull out some milk while your supply is low, but you know what? You can get it back up, and reach out for help if something's going on, like the baby's sick or you're sick, or if just in general you feel like your supply is low. Hang in there. It's tough work, but it is so worth it, and you can get back to normal. Everything can be okay. Just look at me. I had my supply totally dip twice, and we're back to normal, nursing like normal, I'm pumping like normal, and things are going well. So I just hope that my story is encouraging to you, and what worked for me might work for you. Okay, that will be it for this video. I hope it was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Maybe leave me a comment. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in my next one.